Hi guys, Mike in the Woods here. Today we're going to talk about everyday carry bags, often abbreviated as E.D.C. What they are, the general philosophy, and how they make your day-to-day life much easier. So to start us off, what exactly is everyday carry? In its most basic definition, everyday carry is the collection of items that you take with you everywhere you go in your day-to-day life. You already have a set of items that fit this definition, and you may not even realize it. Things like your wallet, your phone, and your keys. Essential items of your daily routine that you would feel powerless without. However, the concept of everyday carry is much more than that. While the three things I mentioned are definitely core needs to most people's E.D.C, the philosophy of E.D.C is all about being prepared for the not-so-common things that may happen throughout the day that you're not otherwise prepared for. It's about having the right tools and equipment for moments of need. Put simply, it's about being prepared for the anomalies in your daily routine. That's the concept of everyday carry. So what is an everyday carry bag? Well, most people would find it hard to carry everything they might need during the day on their person at all times, especially if your job has strict dress code or your clothing preference excludes pockets. So some sort of bag is used to carry it all around. Normally this is a backpack or a messenger bag like what I use, but pick whatever works best for you. One common question I see a lot is, what should I put in my E.D.C bag? To be honest, it's not a question you should be asking others to answer for you, as everyone's daily routine is different. A septic tank worker would not need the same things as a programmer, nor would a police officer need the same things as a plumber. If you live out in rural Alberta, you might not need the same things as someone downtown Toronto. To put it simply, there's no standard definition of what an E.D.C bag should have in it. It is entirely dependent on your situation, your living conditions, your occupation, any disabilities or illnesses you may have, so on and so forth. Only you know what's best for you. That being said, there are some situations that could happen in your daily routine that could happen to anyone. I'd like to touch on these just to give you some examples and get your gears turning about situations that pop up in your daily life that you might not otherwise give a lot of thought to or be prepared for. So the first one is your phone battery runs out and needs to be recharged. That can be remedied with a charging cable and a battery bank. Number 2, small injuries like cuts and scrapes. That can be remedied with a small first aid kit that has things like band-aids, antiseptic wipes, and often overlooked things like diarrhea and stool softener meds. Number 3, you need to quickly take notes. Remedied with a pen and a notepad. Number 4, you need to open a package or cut food, which is remedied by having a knife. Number 5, split seams in clothing or damaged straps on a bag, remedied with a small sewing kit. A bonus tip, use fishing line for sewing if your stitching needs to be load-bearing. And number 6, you need to see in the dark or at night, remedied with a small flashlight. Doesn't have to be big, just a tiny little guy will do. The list of common situations is much larger than that, and I'll expand on them in the description of this video with links to appropriate E.D.C items on Amazon, using Amazon affiliate links. So if you want to help out the channel, be sure to check out those or any of the other links in the description. But anyways, back to what we were talking about. So you're interested in starting out your E.D.C bag, but even with this video, you're still not 100% sure what you need to have in the bag. And that's okay. It's completely normal for your bag to evolve over time, often drastically. Starting the E.D.C philosophy is a change in thinking that will require trial and error to figure out what works best for you. It's just the name of the game. If you want a good place to start, I want you to do 2 exercises. The first one is to sit down and brainstorm situations that might happen in your everyday life. Let your mind wander and take you through your daily routines and situations you might encounter. Jot them down. Play a lot of what-if situations in your head. And remember, we're not thinking about wacky situations that only have a 1 in a million chance of happening. We're thinking about relatively common daily occurrences that you want to be prepared for. Mundane stuff. The second exercise is I want you to spend the next 1 or 2 weeks and have this list with you at all times. Whenever something happens that you're not prepared for, or weren't prior to watching this video, compare it to your list. Is your item on the list? Good, check it off. If not, add it and check it off. At the end of this process, compare your list now to how it was when you first brainstormed. How is it different? What surprised you that happened frequently that you hadn't even thought of? What did you think that would happen that didn't? Use this list to form the basis of your E.D.C kit. Once you have a firm grasp of what your kit will look like, then, and only then, should you think about the actual bag you'll need to carry it. At this point, you should have a rough idea of the volume and weight of what you'll have in your kit. This will let you make an informed decision of what size and style of bag you want. Pick something that's comfortable, sized appropriately, and durable. A lot of people opt for a small backpack. I opted for a messenger style bag. I'll link a few options in the description of this video. So now that you have a firm understanding of what an E.D.C bag is and how to get started, I'd like to go over some key concepts that serve as good guidelines for building an effective E.D.C kit. So the first one is reliability. Don't skimp out on your E.D.C items. I know it might be tempting to get cheaper kit, especially if you're not doing so well in terms of income, but if you can, absolutely go for the higher quality stuff. Ideally, this kit will be with you for the rest of your life. Plan accordingly. The second one is utility. You want to have tools and equipment for as many situations as you can, but be practical. E.D.C is only for stuff that has a good chance of happening throughout the day. For example, your first aid kit probably doesn't need to be too crazy if you work in an office job. Effectiveness is the name of the game. And the third one is portability. Remember that this is something you'll be taking with you everywhere you go. Keep it light, keep it comfortable, and keep it simple. Moving on, I'd like to go over some things that I absolutely recommend you not do. Number 1, don't have illegal or potentially illegal things in your kit. The whole discussion of whether or not you should cooperate with police if they stop and ask to search you is a whole other can of worms that's outside the scope of this video. The point I'm trying to make is don't tempt fate. Don't have illegal substances, large knives unless you live in a really rural area, concealed weapons, lockpicks, or anything that you don't have a good and valid reason to be carrying. If you would feel uncomfortable having security or the police search through your bag, it's probably a good idea to reconsider what's in there. Just my 2 cents. Number 2, don't put stuff in for situations that have a 0 or close to 0 chance of happening. If you live in the city, you probably don't need snare wire or other stuff for catching food. You also don't need equipment for siphoning gas. We're not planning for the apocalypse here, we're planning for your normal daily life. It might seem silly that I have to say this, but you'd be surprised at what sort of nuttery people come up with for their bags. Number 3, don't leave your bag at home. It's an ironic twist that people will spend a lot of time, money, and energy assembling their E.D.C bags, only to have them be too big and weigh too much. Then they just leave it at home or it sits collecting dust in a corner somewhere because they can't be arsed to take it with them. If it's uncomfortable to carry, or it bothers you just walking around, heavily reconsider what's in there. When you're walking around with it, you should barely notice it's there, and everyone's comfort level is different. Number 4, don't leave your gear unmaintained. A good portion of what's in your E.D.C bag will probably be consumable or require maintenance. If you use up consumables, replace them. Things like batteries, snacks, and other single-use items. Things like battery banks should also be charged up when you get home at the end of the day if you use them. Other things, like your knife, require maintenance every so often to keep them sharp and effective. And number 5, don't have your bag be unidentifiable if you lose it. You can go so far as having an address in there so they can mail it back to you, but at least have some sort of documentation in your bag so if you lose it, it can find its way back to you if you get lucky with the person who finds it. At the very least, have some contact information in there on a please call if found card. One hack is to tape up money to a folded piece of paper with your contact information on it so that someone can ship it to you without being out of pocket for it. This is, of course, entirely dependent on the quality of character of the person who finds your bag, but you'd be surprised as to what people will do for you if it costs them no money and only a little bit of time. Maybe even add a promise of reward if they find your bag and return it. So, that about wraps up my explanation. Hopefully you have a solid understanding of what an EDC bag is and the philosophy behind everyday carry. If you still have any questions, comments, or concerns, please voice them in the comments section below, as I try to reply to everyone who comments on my videos. If you like what you saw, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and be sure to check out some of my other videos. In the description below, I have Amazon affiliate links to some common EDC items, some of the bag options, as well as some other links if you're interested in helping out the channel. I also have a link to a teardown of my own personal EDC bag, so check that out if you want to have a good idea of what's in mine. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next week.